So you want to make $500 a month in dividends. Since I make about 8 times that, I thought I'd give you some tips to get you started. Let's go. So firstly is working out how much you need to invest to get to $500 a month in dividend income. So $500 a month is $6,000 in dividend income for the year. So you want to earn $6,000 a year in dividend income, which equates to $500 a month. Now, it's important that I'm distinguishing this, the $6,000 from the $500 a month, because it can be quite difficult to get an even amount every single month when you're looking at dividend income. That's because, especially in Australia, companies usually pay twice a year. Some of them will pay 4 times a year, but that's quite rare. Some of the ETFs will pay 4 times a year, and some of them even pay monthly. But it's much easier to say a goal of $6,000 a year than $500 a month, simply because some months are going to pay more than $500 and some months are going to pay less than $500, but it's going to even out over the year. So based on an average dividend yield of 5%, which is what I aim for, you'll need a portfolio of about $120,000 if you want to make $500 a month. Now, I know that may seem like a really huge amount, especially when you're starting out, but you'll be surprised at just how fast that can grow if you're putting your own money in and letting time in the market do its work as well. But to make it even simpler, you should be setting smaller goals along the way. So your first goal should be only $50 a month or $600 per year. And that's about $12,000 in your portfolio, which sounds a lot more achievable. Then once you have $50 a month, then you aim for $100 a month, then $150 a month, and so on as you build up. Besides, if you can get to $50 a month in dividend income, you only need to do that 10 more times to get to your goal. So at the start, don't focus on building a $120,000 portfolio. If that seems a little out of reach, start with just a $12,000 portfolio. That's much more achievable for most people, especially with their mindset. And then you can work up from there, because if you can achieve that, you can achieve further goals as well. Plus, time is going to be your friend. As your portfolio grows, you'll start to get more dividends, but over time, the dividends will be growing as well. So time really is your friend. Dividend investing is a long-term investment. So now that you know what to aim for, let's put a plan into place to get there. So now you need to decide whether you're going to use exchange-traded funds or index funds, or you're going to be buying individual companies, or maybe a combination of the two, like I do. Funds, particularly exchange-traded funds, are really easy for beginners, and they're a nice passive way to build up your portfolio. Now, as I mentioned, exchange-traded funds in Australia usually pay quarterly, but there are some that pay monthly. So I've done some research on some really good exchange-traded funds. I just did that this week. And these are the two that I particularly like from BetaShares. The first is BetaShares Harvest Fund, HVST. It has a distribution yield of 6.1% per annum, and it actually pays out monthly. The second is their YMax, or their Yield Max Fund. It has a distribution yield of 7.5%, but it's only paid quarterly. Now, I'm not affiliated or sponsored with BetaShares. I actually don't even own these two companies, although I am and have been for quite some time interested in the Harvester Fund and probably will buy into that in the future. Now, there are pros and cons to both of these two funds. The Harvester Fund doesn't have as much growth, but having that monthly income just makes that so much easier if you're trying to manage your income coming in. The Yield Max Fund pays quarterly, but there is more growth for that. If you're going to use exchange traded funds to get to your $500 a month goal, then you only need 1 or 2 funds. You don't need any more than that. So choose which ones that speak to you the most and have a good dividend yield. Then whichever fund or funds that you've chosen, just keep building them up. Each time you save some more money, build that fund up. But if you want to buy some individual single stocks, I did just go through the ASX 100, have a looking at the dividend yield of some of the companies within that, and I've made you a list. So there were 12 companies from the top 100 companies in Australia that had a dividend yield of 5% or more, and I've also listed the months that they pay out their dividends. So here we've got Fortescue Metals, AGL, Rio Tinto, Horizon, BHP, Vicinity Centres, APA Group, Stockland, AusNet, Harvey Norman, Spark New Zealand, and GPT Group. They all have a yield of 5% or more. There's a lot that are pretty close. Origin Energy is 4.9, and it probably will go up. But I put the months, and as you can see, a lot of them pay in March and September. They're very popular months for companies in Australia to pay out their dividends. but you can get a pretty broad range. I think January is the only one that's not shown out of these 12 companies. Now, this isn't a recommendation for any of these companies because I haven't done further research on them first, but it's a great starting point, because the second thing you want to look at once you have your list of high dividend companies is how stable those dividends are, because you want having stable income coming in, obviously, but also how stable the company is as a whole. I'm going to be doing a deeper dive into research in the top 200 companies very soon on this channel. I've done it before on my channel. There's plenty of them that you can go and look at, but I thought I'd do an updated one very soon. But as you can see from this, there are some months that lots of companies pay in and some months that no companies pay in, which is why if you're using single stocks, a more fun way to invest, it can be difficult to get every single month paying. So if you're going to go this route, you need to be focusing more on the $6,000 you need per year rather than the $500 per month that you need. To have enough companies to have a good spread and hopefully every month is getting paid, you'll probably need to own about 10 to 15 individual stocks. That should cover most months. It may not cover every single month. There's very few companies in Australia that pay in January. So I currently have 14 individual companies in my portfolio and 2 exchange traded funds. That covers a nice amount, and while I don't get exactly the same amount every single month, I do have money coming in every single month. So it all balances out in the end. You will need a brokerage account to buy the shares or buy the exchange traded funds. If you don't have one already, go and open an account. Now, I recommend starting with $1,000 each time, saving up $1,000 and then putting that into the stock market. You, of course, can invest with less than that, but when you're considering brokerage costs, which usually are around between $10 and $30, I think saving up that to $1,000 is just going to mitigate those trading costs a little bit better than if you were starting for, say, $500. So each time you save up $1,000, you're going to invest it in the stock market. You're either going to invest it in one of the exchange traded funds that you've decided on or one of the individual companies that you've decided on. So if we're talking about your first goal of $50 a month, which is a $12,000 portfolio, saving up $1,000 at a time, you need to do that 12 times. Even saving up, you want to put it into small chunks so you don't get overwhelmed, because saving up $1,000 is much easier in your mindset than saving up $12,000. So how long is it going to take you to reach $500 a month in dividend income? That's going to depend on a few things. The first and most obvious one is how long it's going to take you to save up that $1,000. If you can save up $1,000 to invest into the stock market every single month, you'll have your first goal, your $50 a month in dividend income goal, reached by the first year. If it's going to take you longer, then it's going to take you longer. Everybody's different. Some people watching this are probably going to have some money already and some will be starting from zero. So it really depends where you're starting from as well. So it's a really good idea to have a budget if you don't have one already, so you know how much you can save and how much you can invest. It's really good to have a budget anyway, just to keep control of your money. Now that first $12,000, even though it doesn't sound like a lot, is actually going to be the hardest. When you're starting out on an investment journey or a savings journey or anything like that, the first step is usually the hardest, but after that, time is going to be on your side. Not only that, but you'll be actually starting to receive dividend income during that time. So you'll be able to use that, not only the money that you earn from, say, a job or wherever you're earning your money from, you're now earning dividend income on top of that, so you can use that money to invest as well. And if you want to be really smart about it, you can start to think about whether you want to reinvest the dividends or take the income. So reinvesting the dividends is what a lot of companies will offer this, and most exchange traded funds will offer this as well, where instead of giving you the money for the dividends, they will buy more stock in the company or more shares in the company for you with that amount of money that you would have got as cash. It's a really fast way of compounding interest, building up your portfolio, because as you buy more shares, the next time that dividends are paid out, you actually own more of the company, so your dividends are going to be higher. So it can be a really fast way to build your portfolio if you don't need the income straight away. But there are others that don't want to reinvest the dividend because perhaps they want to take that income and invest in a different company or a different fund. So there are no right or wrong answers here, whether you choose to reinvest the dividends or take the income. You're going to be winning out either way. As you know, I take the dividend income, but then I use it for my day-to-day expenses because I'm living off the dividends now. So I've covered a lot in this video on how to reach a $500 a month goal in dividend income. The biggest tip I can give you is to break down those goals into smaller goals. Like your first goal should be about $50 a month. And just do that 10 times. It's going to get easier as your income builds and as your portfolio builds, because your dividend income is going to be higher. So you will be getting more income to invest or whatever you want to use that income for. Investing around $1,000 each time means that you're covering those brokerage costs a little bit better than if you're using less money. Plus, it's a nice round number to aim for. You want to invest in good quality exchange traded funds or strong companies. As I mentioned, I look for dividend yields of 5% or more, but I'm also looking at the dividend stability and the stability of the company. I usually stick to the ASX 200. I don't go outside. I don't invest outside that. So sticking with the top 200 or even the top 100 companies will be better than looking at the smaller companies that may not be as stable. But again, do your research before you invest in anything. Anyway, I hope this video has been helpful. Happy investing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.